Okay. Magnus went e4, which was, well, I wouldn't really call it a surprise, but I expected, I thought it was a much higher probability that he would go d4. I think we basically decided to try this knight off, and if he went for bishop e2 like he did against Dominguez recently, I thought I'll just play my an old Scheveningen. But so a4. I mean, all this is fairly well-worn stuff, especially from the old Karpov-Kasparov matches. And then I played something which has been sort of popular recently, bishop f8. And then he went queen f2, and somehow I got my orders mixed up. I went bishop d7, which, if he goes knight b3, then at least it makes some sort of sense. But in fact, I just got my wires crossed, because after g4, I just got a very bad Scheveningen. And okay, I had to play e5. I mean, even knight c6, b takes c6, f5 came into consideration. I mean, black's play is very easy. Usually he has only one move which doesn't lose. So in this case, it's d5, and so on. But what he played in the game seemed strong enough. He went knight f5. So I took.
Excuse me,
bishop e6.
Can everybody sit down now, please? To make it possible for everybody to see what's happening on the board. Thank you. Okay, you can come.
Yeah. And if I were to get something like this, even if white were to put his knights on d5 and f5, it would be possible to play this. But the problem is he takes this first. So rook a d1, knight e5, takes. And there's no way I can get the other knight back in time. So knight d5. I mean, in general, there's not much to be done for black. I can't say I saw a forced win for white, but I'd be very surprised if there wasn't one. The thing is, black has some defensive resources. One is at some point to move the bishop out from that square and put it on f8. The other is, as in the game, to play g6 and h5. So that's sort of what I have to go for. I was afraid if I went queen c5 directly, he'd go queen g2. So I went queen c6 first, so that maybe I can play bishop c5 and knight f8 at some point, or maybe b5. I don't know if he can pause for b3, for instance. My hunches is just very difficult for black, but I don't have a specific thing to analyze here. But he went bishop g2, and somehow it's not really like I planned it, but I realized that the only thing I could do was to play queen c5, which sort of looks absurd, but in a way it makes sense. Black's three pieces are already in the best squares. You can't really improve this. It's not clear. I mean, moving the rook from b8 to c8 is not going to dramatically improve black's position. So I might as well take the pawn. Queen h4. Queen takes c2. This is not just Victor-style pawn grabbing. It's more, I'm taking away key squares as well. And after queen takes c2, I'm going to have some checks on the first rank. I mean, I'm just, I think there's no point really getting into variations here. So the question is, should I have played king h8 first or something? But didn't seem to me to make a lot of sense. By taking this, I make his first rank a question, and I keep some pawns. So in case after rook c1 you were to go for the exchange, then I already have some pawns ready. Then rook c1, again, it's very difficult to play cold-bloodedly at the board. I wasn't even sure if queen d2, was sort of useful. Try and misplace some rooks. Queen takes b2 was plausible. Queen takes a4. And I didn't see a forced win in the game, but again, I would be surprised if there wasn't one. He went b3. I think the line we more or less decided was rook c3. And if I play bishop takes d5, which is what he was afraid of. Then rook h3, h6, g takes h6, g6 is forced. And it's a very funny idea because I don't think I've seen anything like it, but the idea was e takes d5, attacking the queen, and if I were to take, then he takes, and funnily enough I don't really have a defense against rook takes f7 and knight takes, and if I do this, he would take on f7, take on h4, take on d7, rook e7, takes, and bishop e4. And okay, black has some drawing chances, there's no question, but with this pawn it's always going to be a slog.
You saw this behind the board, or?
Yeah, this I actually saw behind the board, but there's not much I can do, and but after rook c3, again the same idea comes up. I had the feeling knight f6 check was going to be bad, but I'm not completely sure of everything here, so perhaps there's still hope for black in this position. But his idea was to play b3. But now after queen a5, if he were to do the same thing, just to give you an example, I would have queen d2 in many lines. So when he actually went for it, I could play g6, rook here, h5. And he went bishop f3, which seemed to me to be very strong, but it seems that I can get a draw thanks to this move, bishop g7. If g hits 6, now it's very important that I have this move, queen d8. So whereas earlier my hope was having the thing pinned, now my hope is that I have queen d8 and I'm just in time to stop one of his knights landing. And f6. But he went bishop f3. And matters are pretty forced. I can't start with gf5 because then knight f6 is mate on the spot. So I have to take this thing off. He took. If bishop h5, I don't know, maybe I can do the same thing.